everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the assumptions that I made about England that were completely wrong. Because in America you speak English, and in England you speak English, that you're not going to have any trouble communicating. Boy, was this wrong. I really thought that because we all spoke the same language that there would be no miscommunication and it would be pretty seamless in all the transitions of being able to explain things to people. As it turns out, I was very much unaware of the actual differences between British English and American English. Yes, it is all based in the same language. However, there's tons of things like slang that you're not going to know necessarily. And also certain phrases and words that they use differently. For example, pants in England, it's actually underwear. And chips are actually French fries, and crisps are actually potato chips. Not just limited to that. There's also a ton of things that you are going to have to learn in order to communicate effectively here in England when it comes to tone, also cultural references and inflections. Sometimes the same exact phrase can mean 5 totally different things, and it's all about the inflection and tone that they use. That is something to definitely be aware of. And also when it comes to communication, Americans are just much more direct and English people just are not. And as much as it's frustrating and you might try to pull out some more directness from them, it's very difficult. And there's a lot of people that I've had trouble communicating with here in England just because of that lack of directness and my expectation of directness. And I've also rubbed people the wrong way by being too direct in their eyes, and it came off rude to them. So unfortunately, the language barrier is real and is something that I'm still struggling with here in England. That American things found here in England are actually exactly the same as they are in America. This misconception still trips me up, and I think it might more be like I have to train my brain that it's not the same. Maybe if I experience it a little bit more, it'll start cementing a little bit more in my brain, but I still see things like American brands and expect them to taste exactly like they did in America, and it just isn't the case. For example, there's one of my favorite pizza chains here, Papa John's, which I absolutely love, and it's really something that I have had since college. It's my only chain go-to pizza in America. And they do have Papa John's here in England. I was very excited when I found out that there's a Papa John's in the town that I moved to. I was extremely disappointed as well, because once we ordered it and tasted it, it just didn't taste the same. Obviously, wherever you are, the food is going to be tailored to the palates that are local and not necessarily to, the original taste buds that created the recipes. It's something that I have to kind of trick my mind into sometimes, that hey, the Papa John's, even though you're craving it and it might feel a little bit comfortable having something from home, in the end it's actually going to disappoint you and not make you feel any more comforted, because it's just going to remind you once again you're not in America. The preconceived notion that everybody hates Americans in England. My partner is British, so I know not everybody hates Americans, and you all have been extremely generous and kind to me. I did kind of have the preconceived notion that British people, at the very least, looked down on Americans. And I'm not going to say that's not 100% true. There's probably a little of that underlying in most people in their takes when they speak to American people, or at least they have an expectation and preconceived notion, right? Just like I did. That one has been pretty much debunked. Most of the people that I've met are very interested in what it's like to live in America, why we left, and I even get lucky once in a while that people actually want to hear what it's like to live here in England and hear some of the struggles and trials and tribulations that we go through. More often than not, people are friendly and helpful and definitely welcoming overall. And it just hit me recently that I don't have to have my resident visa card on me all the time everywhere I go. Because in America, you have to have ID on you. If you're driving, you get pulled over by a policeman for a traffic stop, you have to present your driver's license. You have to show who you are just for a simple traffic stop. And so I've gotten used to just having my license on me all the time, or having whatever ID I have on me all the time. Here in England, you don't have to have your ID on you. You don't have to prove anything to anybody, really, in most cases. Even driving, you don't have to have your driver's license on you. If you get pulled over for a traffic stop, you are connected to the registration on the car. So they know who you are already. They know whether or not your driver's license is valid, and any other instance you might have on your license or your registration of that car before they even come up to the front of the vehicle and say hello. So I just assumed I would have to hear, but it turns out, I would have trouble finding like television and news programs that were based in the US or about the US here in the UK. My partner, who is English, was living in America for so long and was always struggling to find the things that they wanted to see, all the sports programs and good news programs about what was happening in the UK and throughout Europe. And that just didn't translate that much into American culture. So I had the misconception that when I came to England, I would have the same struggle. Turns out that I was completely wrong. American culture translates much easier here into England, and I don't have to worry about that, which I am very grateful for. The next one is that there wasn't any big season changes. I grew up in the northeast of America. That's where we lived before we moved here to England, and you get 4 seasons. They've kind of run into each other a little bit lately because of global warming, but you definitely get a winter, spring, summer, and fall, or autumn. And I thought that here it was going to be a lot more meshed together, because I know the temperatures do not get as extreme here in England as they do in America, at least where I'm from. It's actually a much more obvious change in the seasons here in England. You have the very rainy season, which is in the autumn/fall, and winter. And it does get colder than I thought it would here in England. Definitely not as cold as it does in the northeast of America. And I don't have to worry about ice or anything like that, which I'm very grateful for. And snow is a minimum. Literally, I remember it snowed last year, and I think for like, I don't know, a half a day, and it was really pretty, and it made the trees look really nice and stuff. But the best part was I didn't have to shovel it, and it was gone the next day. So I was able to enjoy the beauty of it and the tranquility of it and the atmosphere of snow without having to actually deal with any of the snow. When it starts to get warm here for the spring, it's very obvious in England because there's so many gardens and there's so many trees and so much landscape here. You can tell it's spring. The flowers all start blooming. The roses, which are humongous and absolutely gorgeous, start blooming, and all the insects are out, the animals are out, and society is out. And when the warm weather starts to come, everybody's out. The kids are in the park playing. Everybody's out and about doing something, sitting in the beer gardens, going to the pubs. There's just tons and tons of activity when it's springtime. And in the summer, definitely that week or so where it's really hot, there's people enjoying it. The beaches are packed. Anywhere there's water and boating, it's definitely a big crowd, and everybody's out and about enjoying the fine weather. So the season change here is actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. The biggest misconception I had that I'm still kind of struggling with is that eventually I would fit in. I'm realizing now that probably was a bit naive of me. I'm not gonna fit in here in England. I'm never gonna not be American, really, and I don't know that I want to really change anyway. Of course, I want to adapt and assimilate and try to, become as part of the culture as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, I'm never gonna be an English person, and I'm never gonna be a full-fledged Brit. But I can at least learn to appreciate where I live now, appreciate the differences, and also it's kind of an interesting point of view because you get to pick and choose kind of what you want to adapt and what you don't want to adapt. You still get to kind of take the really good stuff and adapt it to your life and make it fit into your life, but without losing who you really are. And it's kind of this cute little, it sounded very American with the cute, but it's like this fusion of the best of both worlds, and it's kind of fun to be able to do that. And I didn't think it was going to be like that. I thought I'd have to leave almost everything about me behind and start brand new and learn everything and become English. And it's definitely not the case. There's a lot of you out there that are helping me learn and understand about this new home, and also adapt and find a way to just keep my roots but still fly and experience. And I appreciate that so much. So you have it, guys. Those are the assumptions that I made about moving to England that have all been debunked, basically. If you guys have an experience like that, please leave it in the comments below. Consider subscribing, like this video because that helps me out a lot, and I'll see you next time.